Hi there, it's Steph. Thanks for popping by. Today I'm sharing with you a card I made using the paper Smooches stamp set called Space Cadet. And it's some sort of interactive card with a spinning element to it. There's different cards where you can put spinning element, and that's one of them with a coin at the back. But you can see a bit more about that in a minute. So I've started with the background. I only show you one of the backgrounds because they're both made using the same technique. I use my blending tool and render distressing, and I basically just blend the color together. I tried to do something a bit more smooth than I usually do. I did a bluish background and a yellow-orangey background. I then dropped some water droplets, and I'm using some Nina Solar white card, so it's not watercolor paper. So I removed the droplets quite quickly so the paper doesn't warp too fast. And then I use my paintbrush to drop some Ranger Distress paint, picket fence, and that's great to do the splatter for like space background and things like that. Just bear in mind that once that paint dries, it's very hard to remove, including on your table or on your mat. So just clean it while it's wet. Once I'm done with that, I'm die cutting two small circles because I don't have a die that does the shape that you need to slide the coin in, basically, or in off behind. So I'm making my own. So I'm using, I suppose we can call that a top heel die and two circle dies, and I basically just create my own path. I use the top heel one and the normal heel one. I'm not sure what their name is, but one is more like a mountain and one is more like a wave, basically. And it's just trying to vary a bit, just trying to do something different on both cards. And it works pretty well. I mean, it die cuts really well. It does add a little stitch line, but you can't see it that much because the background is already very busy. But it's a good way to cut that path out of your paper to make it very regular, because you could do it by hand, I suppose, with a sharp knife or a pair of scissors, but I find that way it's very neat and you don't have to buy an extra die. So that's my tip of the day. Then I started coloring my images, so I selected the rocket and the little alien. I decided to do a little bit of no line coloring for a change, just because I did some copy coloring recently with lines and I thought it'd be nice to change a little bit. So to match the background, I picked some oranges, and some yellows for the rocket. And I will add a bit of purple as well, just so that it matches the background of the card as well. I wanted everything to kind of coordinate a little bit, and I think it worked out quite well actually. I don't know if you have that feeling. When I was doing the no line coloring up close, I didn't like it so much because I didn't think the lines, the edges were very smooth. But I mean, once you cut off, I firstly cut all of my things because I don't have the dies for most of them. It works out perfectly fine, and when I see it, as I record the voiceover, I think it looks good. So, just if you have the same feeling, bear that in mind, that up close it looks one way and a bit from further it's not that bad. So anyway, then I went with the alien, and same thing, I tried to coordinate with the colors I picked for the background, so some sort of turquoise-ish blue. I really like that dark blue. I can't remember, it's BG something. It's a really nice color. And I also add some purple, and it's kind of a pink, purpley pink, and same thing, it matches the background as well, so I'm quite happy because I think the colors worked out pretty well. I don't know if you know, but I do have a limited amount of Copic markers, but the way I selected them, I kind of managed to have enough colors to match every distress ink I have, really, so it works out pretty well for me. Anyway, then I used the grey Copic markers to the background, and that's when my camera died. So I finished off camera, and then I die cut my images, and then you can see me prepare the sentiment for my backgrounds. So I did one in French and one in English, one for my husband and one for my dad. And I'm using my embossing buddy tool, stamping with Versamark, and then using some Ranger white superfine embossing powder. Once I'm done with all the wet embossing, I'm going to the background. So for the first one, I stick to everything double-sided foam sheet
because it's not tape, I've been talking to you about recently, and I actually really like that piece of I don't want to call, I want to call it tape. It's not really tape, but I think it works pretty well anyway. So here I prepare a piece of card for the background. It's actually a damaged one, but because the way it's going to be in the back, you won't see it. So I'm trying to use what I have. Then I realized that the coin was not fitting very well, so I decided to remove some of the foam, and you will see on that one. I didn't manage to remove enough at that stage, and I later on, once it was all glued together and it wasn't sliding properly, I had to scrape with my tweezers. So my advice is leave more space than I did on that one, because that's not enough clearly. And you can see on the second one I left more space. I think the fact as well that it's more like a wavy path rather than a straight, you know, half circle path, it makes it a bit harder. So, you know, just something to bear in mind. Also, for the double-sided tape that you use for the between the coin and the image, do not use that foam I recommend so much, because it doesn't work for that. You have to use some double-sided foam tape, because it's thicker, it's more dense. That foam here is great. It's thick. It's really thick. It's about 3 millimeters thick, but it does not work for that. So bear that in mind if you do buy some. Then I trimmed the edges because obviously it wasn't straight, and you know, it slides, but not quite as much as I want. So later on I will go back and fix that. So that's the second card, and I think you can see I'm a bit more generous with the amount of foam I'm removing from the path. Let's call it the path for the coin. And it worked better. It really did work better. So that's something that I found out while doing it. I mean, it doesn't come off 100%. Like there's a bit of it that stays glued. And maybe if I had made the path bigger to start with, the coin would have slid better. But you know, you learn when you do mistake. So here we go. But it comes off quite easily anyway, so it's quite cool. So then I put my little double-sided foam tape and I put my element. I glue that onto my background, and then I will glue the background onto a card. And what's cool is that you can't get it wrong for the side of the element because it keeps spinning around anyway, so it goes all the way. So then I glued that onto my card. It was a little bit too large, so I trimmed my edges, which I should have done before, so let's bear that in mind for next time. And I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Once you do the front of the card, you just really need to glue it onto a blank card. So I mean, I do use a fair amount of glue because we're talking about a card front that's pretty heavy with that 3 millimeters thick foam tape. So I mean, it's a card, it could quite easily go for the post, but I would prefer giving it in hand just to make sure it's not getting too squished. So that worked out pretty well. I've learned things from it. Hopefully it will help you. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for watching. If you want to see the close-up photo, head over to my blog, and yeah, have a great day. Bye.